Hey, welcome to my first video. We're going to be talking about kinetic typography using Cinema 4D, After Effects, as well as Photoshop. If you're interested in seeing some of my work, my Instagram is going to be linked over there. But yeah, let's get started on this tutorial. So I'm going to go here to After Effects, right? And I'm going to click on New Composition. So I'm just going to name this whatever. I have a really bad habit of naming things. But yeah, so I'm gonna choose 1080 by 1080. That's gonna be great for social media or anything else that's gonna use the square format. And then frame rate is gonna be 30 frames per second. So yeah, let's get started. So then you can so now that you have your composition open, you can go into the File, New, and then Maxim Cinema 4D file. Now, this is going to prompt you to save a file. So I'm just going to save it to the desktop, and I'm going to name this funnel. So just give it a second. It's going to load up Cinema 4D, which comes installed when you install After Effects. It's going to be a light version. So here I have the full version, but it should be the same. So down here, you can see the project settings. Now, one thing that's really important is to make sure that your project settings on Cinema 4D are going to be the same as what's in After Effects. So here you can see that the frames per second is also 30. And then the only other thing that you're going to want to change so you don't get your aspect ratio messed up is a 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. So that's going to match the After Effects now. So let's get started on building the model. So if you go to View, if you go to Camera and you hit the left view, it's going to show the left side of the workspace. So now that you have that, you can go ahead and go onto this pen tool and hit the arc. And this is going to do kind of like, so this is what the arc is going to look like, but it's not, nothing's going to show up in the render. So now what you want to do is you'll head over to Extrude and then to the Lathe option. And now you're going to drag the arc underneath the lathe. So then what that's going to do is that the arc is going to act as a child element to the lathe. And yeah, so you'll hit the arc next. And then you'll see these arrows. And what you can do is you can drag this arrow to the right. And that's going to start slowly forming that shape that we want. So then we can go back to the cameras and back into the perspective view. And then you can see that we have a funnel. So now, what we can do is we can add a camera to the workspace. So here you can see the camera. If you want to look through the camera, you'll just hit this button here, and you can edit your view through here. And then if you want to back out of that, you just click this button again. You're back in your workspace and you can see all your elements. So I'm going to hit on the camera. We're going to keep the focal length at 36 millimeters here. But what we're going to do is hit display and go into the quick shading lines. So you can see this here. Now, if you go back onto the arc, and you hit uniform, you can give this a little bit more, gonna go up to 15, so you can give it a little bit more subdivisions here. And then, so now that we have the camera set up and we have the start of the funnel set up, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go into Photoshop and you're gonna create a new file. So now for this we're going to be working in pixels. So it's going to be 3000 by 1000 pixels. And then RGB color for this. So we'll create, and then here you'll just head over to the text tool, and then you can just type in any sample text or anything that you want your composition to be, or anything that you want in your composition. But yeah, I'm just gonna make this a little bigger. Sample. So I'm at 150, probably gonna go back down to 140 point for this. And then I'm gonna try to center it as best as I can on this. And then you're gonna go File, Save. So you're gonna save a Photoshop file, and that's what's gonna be your text. So I'll save it to the desktop, and I'll do sample 2.0. And then maximize compatibility. Okay, so now that we have the Photoshop file saved and we have the text made, we'll go back into Cinema 4D, and what we're gonna do is create a material. So you can either go create here, new default material, or you can double click and that'll make a material. So now we're gonna double click on the material, and we're gonna go into this menu. So I'm gonna turn off reflectance, I'm gonna turn off color, but I'm gonna turn on luminance. And under the luminance tab, we're gonna click these three buttons, and we're gonna select that Photoshop file that we just made as our texture. So now that that's made, and we have the material down here, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna put it on the lathe. Now you're gonna see that the text is very warped and it's not the right perspective. So let's fix that. So down here under the length U, I'm gonna switch this to 25. And under the length V, I'm gonna switch this to 5%. Now you can see that it's looking a lot better, but the text is still the wrong perspective. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch the 5% to a negative 5%, and that's gonna give us the correct orientation. So now it's just a matter of going around and then getting the view that you want. So this looks pretty good to me here. And then we're gonna set the keyframes and the animations all under Cinema 4D. So if you hit this button here, you'll get put to your 0 frame. So now we're gonna set the keyframes to start the animation under offset U and offset V. And yeah, so I'm gonna go all the way to the last frame, and then so I'm gonna choose kind of like a reference point for the animation. So let's see, for this one I'm gonna choose the L down here, so I'm gonna try to match that so it looks more seamless. So I'm gonna turn up the offset until I get the L kind of at the same spot, and I'm gonna set another keyframe. Now we're gonna do the other. Animation to the other side, and then this is just a matter of like personal preference and how fast you want it to go. So I'm gonna do about 10% here. And then we can always double check the animation inside Cinema 4D. So I'm gonna go to the start, and then I'm gonna press play. And that's looking pretty good. And if you think it's spinning too fast or anything else that you don't like about the animation, you can switch these values here at the end of the frame, and that will give you either like a slower or like a faster, depends on your preference. So we're gonna go File and save the project, hit yes, and then go back into After Effects. So in here you have the Cinema 4D file. So you can drag this down here and make a new composition. In my After Effects, I have this set to quarter, but you can set it to full to see your render. And one last thing is, we need to get rid of these lines here. So in order to do that, you can just go back into Display, and this first option will get rid of them. So you can just Control Save, and then that will be reflected in the After Effects file. So now you can double check, and you can see it's going a little bit slow, but it's definitely the effect that we're looking for. So now what you can do is you can go, instead of full, you can go quarter, and that will give you a much faster view. And now to export this, we're gonna head over to Composition, and then we're gonna add it to the Adobe Media Encoder. And here you can see that we have the file here. So now I'm gonna hit on this, and then here you can select, if you click this blue text, you can select where you want to save the output. So I'm just gonna select Desktop, and then Funnel 2.0. Hit Save, and then I'm just gonna use maximum render quality, so we can see that it's gonna be about a 3 megabyte file. And yeah, let's hit OK for this, and then press play. And then it's not gonna be a huge animation, so it shouldn't take long to have rendered. And let's see. Yep. So now we can check our render, and then we have Funnel 2.0. And yeah, so there's your animation. So if you're interested in learning more about motion graphics or kinetic typography, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.